Hey, so I'm going to briefly do a video about this tornado, a discussion about this tornado situation going on in Oklahoma this morning, because it really was kind of under forecasted. First of all, threat's over in Oklahoma City, and there really never was a tornado threat in Oklahoma City, but whatever threat there is, it's gone now. In Norman, it's gone now. I would argue there probably ended up being a tornado threat in Norman when it wasn't really forecasted, but it's all past now. But when late last week, when the forecast data was coming in for this trough kicking out, the trough looked like it could be a classic severe weather producing event, and the discussion started coming out really early, especially for December, about it. But then as we got closer to the event, they started kind of, especially for the Oklahoma part, kind of started backing away because, oh well, we've had all this fog and clouds and cool air, and the data was starting to look like that was going to win out, that the cool air and the stable air was going to win out, and for the most part it did. And also the timing, it was going to come in 3, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, which is the coolest part of the day in December. So it really was like, well, this might not be as bad, instability's not going to be as bad. The question became, can all the dynamics, the shear and the wind shear, overcompensate for the lack of instability for all those other factors I just mentioned? And the data basically under forecasted the mass response into that cyclone for about a 40-mile swath south of Norman, just at the last minute, near 60 dew points advected in. And once you get dew points about 60 or above, you can start getting storms to be surface rooted and not rooted above the cool layer at the ground. And that's ended up being what happened at some of those storms right there at the last minute. The storm in Norman came real close to being surface based, which could have produced a tornado in Norman, but it just stayed barely elevated. And then when that part of the line got to Lexington down there, then they became fully surface based in the low 60 dew points. They started producing tornadoes and damaging tornadoes. There's houses destroyed and stuff down there, and more than one of them. And I've never been a fan. I don't remember when it was, 5 or 10 years ago, they started going from county-based warnings to storm-based warnings. And especially in the Dixie Alley events like in Alabama, I never was a fan of that. And I'm still not a fan of the storm-based warnings. And there's a perfect example of this morning that you're probably not going to hear anyone talk about. The tornado that hit Wayne, they're saying, I heard Mike Armstrong doing an interview about it on his live shot, and he was explaining how the family was so grateful they got the warning and their phone went off in time for them to get to the basement before the tornado hit and leveled their house. The reason they got the warning was not for the tornado that hit their house. They got the warning for a separate area of rotation that was about 5 or 6 miles north of them, and that's the one that caused their phone to go off and them to get the warning. It might not have been 5 or 6 miles. It could have actually been closer than that, but it was being a storm-based warning. But that was the area of rotation that they got the warning for. What happened is that original area of rotation weakened, and the energy from it was transferred to a new area of rotation that ended up being the tornado that hit their house about 5 or 10 minutes later. The only reason they got the warning is because their geographical county area was under the warning. They did not get the warning for a storm-based warning. If that first area rotation had not happened and they did a storm-based warning, they would have not gotten the warning in time. This is why I never liked it when they went to the storm-based warnings. They should have stayed the county-based warnings. If you get somebody who lives 20 or 30, and even when they had the county-based warnings, they never had to make it for the whole county. If you had a big county, they could always say, okay, like for example, let's say, I'm just going to pick a county off the top, Cherry County. Well, you can issue it for southern Cherry County or eastern Cherry County. You don't have to issue it for all of Cherry County. So, for the example this morning, the storm-based warnings don't cover an entire county, and a storm-based warning would have been ineffective in this event. So I always preferred the county-based warning. It's always better if you get somebody who lives 10 miles away that grunts and puffs because they didn't get hit by a tornado when the sirens went off at their house, but it saves somebody else's life 10 or 20 miles away, then let that person puff and grunt about it, because that's the safest course of measure to take. So I just want to make a brief video about that, and I'll also make a brief video about Alabama. This storm system is headed that way. It's going to hit there on Wednesday. Alabama, you're probably lucking, North Alabama anyway, you're probably lucking out. What's going to end up happening is Another secondary low is going to form down around Meridian and kind of go up I-20 and 59. That secondary low is going to put North Alabama, Albertville, Marshall County, for my friends there, it's going to put you all in a favorable position to not get severe weather because of the flow, the wind flow around the low. You're going to get a lot of rain, a lot of thunderstorms, but the tornado parameters, because that secondary low is forming, it's going to stay in south and central Alabama, around Montgomery, or even south of there. And I don't even know how strong it's going to be down there, to be honest. So you guys will probably be okay, just a lot of heavy rain and flooding. But watch it, though, because if that second meso, and I'll watch it and I'll let you know, but if that second meso low goes further west, like let's say it goes from Jackson to Muscle Shoals, then that could put you in a favorable area for tornadoes in Marshall County. But right now that shouldn't happen. So I just wanted to, two winter storm situation. It looks like around the 19th maybe. Data's staying consistent that there could be a winter storm in Oklahoma, especially, Oklahoma and south into North Texas, kind of the same areas that got hit by the severe weather this morning. It's too early to say how much right now. The data's got it generally in a 2 to 4 or 3 to 6 inch range, but that's when it's a week out, it can change so much. Somebody's going to get a little more, somebody's going to get a little less. And then there's also data saying that there could be another winter storm around the 23rd or the 24th, but the data has been more inconsistent on that one, and the data could be getting that confused with the 19th system. Alabama, I don't really see before Christmas Eve any chance of snow there. There's a Gulf low that's maybe gonna, if it tracked further north, could have given central or North Alabama some snow, but I think it's just staying too far south. So the 18th will probably just be cold there. There have been some signs of maybe some snow in Alabama on Christmas Eve. The data's been back and forth on that too, and it's been back and forth on what's going to cause it. Some data set has it coming as a northern stream Alberta clipper. Other data set has it coming from a completely different jet stream from the 23rd event that could be in Oklahoma and going through. So it's, data's confused on what's going to happen. It's just saying something might happen there. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all later.